The metal floor felt cold against Liam's bare feet. He sat in the corner of the holding cell, knees pulled up to his chest, watching the three-fingered alien guards pass by every few minutes. None of them looked at him. To them, he was already dead. 7 years old. That was all he had lived. 7 years on a blue planet called Earth before the pirates came. 7 years of playing in grass and climbing trees and hearing his mother laugh. Now those memories felt like dreams from someone else's life. The door hissed open. A tall reptilian creature entered, scales the color of rust, eyes like black glass. This one was different from the guards. It carried a data pad and moved with something that almost looked like regret. "Human child," it said, voice rough and low. "I am Reth. I pilot the Exiled transport." Liam said nothing. Words felt useless now. Reth crouched down, trying to make itself smaller and less threatening. "I am sorry for what happens to you. The Galactic Council has made its decision. All humans found in civilized space must be sent away. Your species is too dangerous, they say, too unpredictable." "I'm just a kid," Liam whispered. "I know." Reth's tail twitched in what might have been sympathy. "But the law does not care. You were found alone in an escape pod. No adults. No proof of your home world's location, so you go to Verdun 7. The name meant nothing to Liam. Just another word in a universe that had suddenly become hostile and strange. "What is it?" he asked. Reth was quiet for a long moment. "A death world. A place where the Council sends its worst criminals when execution is considered too merciful. Most choose death instead. The planet kills exiles within days, sometimes hours." Liam felt something cold settle in his stomach. Not fear exactly. He had used up all his fear when the pirates attacked his parents' ship, when he climbed into the escape pod and heard his father screaming for him to launch it, when he floated in space for 6 days before the Council ships found him. This was something beyond fear. This was acceptance. The transport ship was small and smelled like oil and something bitter. Reth guided Liam to a bench and strapped him in with restraints meant for much larger beings. The ship lifted off from Harmony Point Station, and through the small viewport, Liam watched the stars appear as they left the docking bay. "The journey takes 3 days, Reth said. From the pilot's seat, "I will tell you what I know of Verdun 7. It may help you survive longer." Liam doubted anything would help, but he listened anyway. Reth explained that Verdun 7 had gravity twice what most species considered standard. The atmosphere was breathable but contained toxins that built up in the body over time. The planet was covered in jungle so thick that sunlight barely reached the ground. Volcanic activity kept the sky dark with ash. Rain fell acidic enough to burn skin if caught in it too long. "And the creatures?" Liam asked. "Everything hunts, everything kills. The plants eat meat. The smallest animals hunt in swarms. The largest can tear through steel plating." Reth paused. "There are stories of things that survived there, criminals who lasted months, even years, but these are probably just stories." On the second day, Reth brought Liam a meal. It looked like paste and tasted like metal, but Liam ate it. He needed strength for whatever came next. "Why do you care?" Liam asked. "Everyone else treats me like I'm already gone." Reth's tail curled around its feet. "I have a hatchling, small like you. If someone took my hatchling and sent it to die alone, I would want someone to show it kindness in its final days. This is all I can offer you." On the third day, Verdun 7 appeared in the viewport. It looked angry. The planet was covered in dark clouds that swirled with volcanic ash. Lightning flashed constantly through the atmosphere. The jungle below was black and twisted, nothing like the green forests Liam remembered from Earth. Reth handed him a survival pack. Water filter, protein bars for 2 weeks, thermal blanket, emergency beacon that may bring help in 4 or 5 months if you survive that long and if anyone actually responds. The ship descended through the violent atmosphere. Wind battered the hull. Alarms beeped warnings about the dangerous conditions. Reth fought the controls, guiding them toward a rocky ridge that rose above the jungle canopy. The landing was rough. The cargo door opened with a mechanical groan, and heat rushed in, thick and wet and wrong. The air tasted like copper and rot. "I am sorry," Reth said one last time. Liam picked up his survival pack and walked toward the door. He stopped at the threshold, looking back at the only friendly face he had seen since the pirates came. "Thank you for being kind," he said. Then he stepped out onto the ridge. The ground was rough volcanic rock, hot enough to feel through his thin shoes. The jungle stretched endlessly in every direction, a sea of black trees and shadow. Things moved in the darkness below, things that sounded hungry. The transport door closed. Engines roared. The ship lifted off, rising back through the ash clouds, leaving Liam alone on a planet that wanted him dead. He stood on the ridge for a long time, watching the spot where the ship had disappeared. Then he turned to face the jungle and began looking for shelter. Night was coming, and with it, the predators would wake. Darkness came fast on Verdun 7. One moment the volcanic sky glowed dull red, and the next, everything went black except for the occasional flash of lightning. Liam found a cave in the ridge wall just as the first sounds began. Clicking, scratching, things moving through the jungle below with too many legs and purposes he did not want to imagine. He crawled deep into the cave, pulled the thermal blanket around himself, and tried not to think about home. Something started digging at the cave entrance around midnight. Liam heard rocks being moved, scraping sounds, and a wet breathing that made his skin crawl. He pressed himself against the back wall, holding perfectly still. The digging continued for hours. Then suddenly it stopped. Whatever it was had found easier prey. Dawn brought no real light, just a change from black to gray. Liam emerged from the cave and looked at the entrance. Deep gouges marked the rock. Whatever had tried to reach him had claws like daggers. He drank water from his filter bottle and ate one protein bar, forcing himself to chew slowly. 2 weeks of food meant 14 bars. He could eat one per day if he was careful. But the water was a bigger problem. The bottle was already half empty, and he had no idea where to find more. By the 3rd day, the filter broke. Liam had been refilling it from a brown stream he found trickling down the rocks, and something in the water had clogged the system beyond repair. Now he had to choose, die of thirst or risk drinking the contaminated water. He chose risk, always risk over certain death. The water tasted wrong and made his stomach hurt, but he kept it down. Small victory. The jungle taught him quickly. Sound meant danger. Movement meant being hunted. On his 5th day, Liam watched from hiding as a pack of 6-legged creatures with armored hides chased something massive through the trees below. The prey animal, whatever it was, screamed as they pulled it down. The feeding sounds lasted for hours. Liam learned the patterns. Dawn and dusk were killing times when predators hunted most actively. Midday, when the volcanic heat became unbearable, most creatures sought shade and rest. That was when he could move safest. He also learned about the plants. Some had thorns that injected venom. Others released spores that made him dizzy and sick. One fruit looked edible but caused burning pain in his mouth that lasted a full day. Another fruit, darker and uglier, actually provided nutrition and did not make him ill. By day 10, Liam had eaten through half his protein bars. His body ached constantly from the heavy gravity. His lungs burned from the toxic air. But he was still alive, which was more than anyone expected. That was when he heard the sound that did not fit. Most noises in the jungle were aggressive. Hunting calls, territorial warnings, feeding frenzies, but this sound was different. It was pain and fear mixed together, something hurt, something desperate. Liam knew he should ignore it. Survival meant staying hidden, avoiding attention, never taking unnecessary risks. But the sound pulled at something deep inside him. Maybe it was loneliness. Maybe it was the last piece of his humanity refusing to let him become just another animal fighting to live one more day. He followed the sound. It led him away from his cave, down into the jungle proper where the trees grew so thick that even the ash-filtered light could not penetrate. The air was heavier here, harder to breathe. Every shadow could hide death. The crying grew louder, more desperate. Liam pushed through a curtain of vines and stopped dead. A ravine opened before him, 20 feet deep with jagged rocks at the bottom. And trapped under a collapsed rock shelf was the largest predator Liam had seen on this planet. It was massive, 12 feet long at least, maybe more. 4 legs built like tree trunks, dark scales that looked thick as armor, a long tail with spikes along its length, and 6 eyes arranged in 2 rows across a head that was all jaw and teeth. 3 more of the creatures lay dead in the ravine, crushed by the same rock slide that had trapped this one. The trapped creature spotted Liam, all 6 eyes locked on him at once. It snarled, showing teeth designed to rip and tear. The sound vibrated in Liam's chest. This was a ravager. Reth had described them on the transport. Apex predators that hunted in coordinated packs, smart enough to plan ambushes, strong enough to kill almost anything on the planet. The creatures that made even the Council's hardest criminals choose execution instead of exile. Liam should run, should get as far away as possible while the creature was trapped and could not chase him. But he saw something in those 6 eyes beyond the rage and hunger. He saw pain, fear, intelligence, and something else, something that reminded him of the way his dog back on Earth had looked at him when it was hurt. The creature was young, he realized, not fully grown. Its left rear leg was crushed under the rocks, bent at an angle that made Liam's stomach turn. Burns covered its scales where some carnivorous plant had attacked during the rock slide. It was dying, slowly and painfully. Liam looked at the creature, and the creature looked back at him. 2 beings alone on a planet that wanted them both dead. He made a decision that was probably stupid and would definitely get him killed. But he had been alone for 10 days, and he was tired of survival being the only thing that mattered. Liam took out his water bottle and began walking carefully down into the ravine. The Ravager watched every step Liam took down into the ravine. Its 6 eyes tracked him with the focus of something that had spent its entire life hunting. The snarl never stopped, a constant rumble of warning that said, "Come closer and die." Liam stayed just out of reach. The creature could move its head and front legs, even trapped as it was. Those jaws could still snap him in half. He knelt down on a flat rock about 6 feet away and slowly unscrewed his water bottle. The Ravager's snarling changed pitch, became uncertain. It was clearly trying to understand what this small creature was doing. Liam poured water into a crack in the rocks near the creature's mouth. The water trickled down, pooling where the Ravager could reach it. The snarling stopped. The creature stared at the water, then at Liam, then back at the water. Slowly, its long tongue emerged and lapped at the pool. It drank desperately, making wet sounds. When the water was gone, those 6 eyes fixed on Liam again. Not snarling now, just watching. "I know you're scared," Liam said quietly. "I'm scared too." He did not expect the creature to understand his words, but maybe it would understand his tone. The way his mother used to talk to their dog when it was hurt or frightened. Liam climbed back up the ravine as the light began to fade. He had his own survival to think about. But the next morning, he returned with more water, and some of the ugly fruit he had learned was safe to eat. The Ravager did not snarl this time. It watched him approach with those unsettling 6 eyes, but the aggression was gone. When Liam poured more water and left pieces of fruit within reach, the creature ate them carefully, still watching him. "I'm going to call you Scout," Liam said, "because you're always watching everything." This became his routine. Every morning and evening he came to the ravine with water and whatever food he could find. He talked while Scout ate and drank. He talked about Earth and green grass and his parents. He talked about being alone and scared. He talked because silence was worse than fear. Scout listened. The creature made sounds sometimes, deep rumbles and huffs that seemed to mean different things. Liam started to recognize them. A low rumble meant contentment. A sharp huff meant alert. A specific whine meant pain. On the 3rd day, Liam began trying to move rocks. The task was impossible. He was a 7-year-old human child on a high-gravity world, and these were boulders that weighed hundreds of pounds. But he tried anyway. He found a long branch that could serve as a lever. He wedged it under the smallest rocks and pushed with all his strength. The first rock moved 3 inches. Liam's arms shook and his back screamed in pain, but the rock moved. Scout made a sound he had not heard before, something between confusion and curiosity. "I'm getting you out," Liam panted. "Just give me time." It took 8 days. 8 days of moving rocks inch by inch. 8 days of his hands bleeding and his muscles burning. 8 days of Scout watching him with increasing intensity, as if trying to understand why this small creature was helping. The other ravagers in the pack had been Scout's family, Liam realized. She made mourning sounds when the wind shifted and carried their scent to her. She was alone now, just like him. On the 8th day, Liam finally levered away the last rock pinning Scout's leg. The limb was badly damaged but not completely crushed. Scout could move it, though she clearly felt pain when she did. The moment she was free, Scout lunged forward faster than Liam could react. He stumbled backward, knowing he had made a fatal mistake. He had freed a predator that could kill him in seconds. Scout's massive head stopped inches from his face. Hot breath washed over him, smelling like meat and something wild. Those 6 eyes studied him from so close that Liam could see his own reflection in them. Then Scout's long tongue emerged and licked Liam's face once, rough as leather but surprisingly gentle. She made that deep, rumbling sound, the contentment sound. Scout turned and limped away into the jungle, favoring her injured leg. She looked back once, huffed at him, then disappeared into the shadows. Liam sat in the ravine for a long time, his heart pounding, his face wet with creature spit. He had expected death. Instead, he got a lick and a goodbye. He climbed out and went back to his cave, assuming he would never see Scout again. He had saved her life, and now she would go back to being a predator, and he would go back to dying slowly on this nightmare planet. But the next morning, when Liam emerged from his cave, he found something waiting outside. It was dead, some kind of animal about the size of a rabbit, already cleaned and prepared. Fresh meat. Scout sat 30 feet away, half hidden in the jungle shadows, watching him. Liam stared at the meat, then at Scout. "Is this for me?" Scout huffed, that alert sound. Then she stood and limped deeper into the jungle, glancing back as if expecting him to follow. Liam picked up the meat. It was still warm. Scout had hunted for him. A predator that should have killed him was bringing him food instead. Liam felt something shift inside his chest, something that had been dead since the pirates attacked his parents' ship, something like hope. He followed Scout into the jungle, and for the first time since arriving on Verdun 7, he was not afraid of the shadows. Life changed after Scout started hunting for Liam. No more rationing protein bars, no more eating questionable fruit that made him sick. Scout brought meat every morning, sometimes twice a day if she had a successful hunt. Liam learned to prepare it. He found rocks that sparked when struck together and managed to make fire, something his father had taught him during camping trips on Earth. Cooked meat tasted better and was safer. Scout watched him cook with obvious curiosity, her head tilted in that way that reminded him so much of a dog trying to understand human behavior. She also taught him the jungle's rules without words. When her ears went flat against her head, danger was near. When her tail went rigid, freeze immediately. When she made a specific low growl, climb the nearest tree because something worse than her was coming. Liam learned to read her body language like a book written in survival. 2 weeks after freeing her, Scout led him to a place he never would have found alone. They traveled for hours through the densest parts of the jungle, Scout moving carefully on her healing leg while Liam struggled to keep up in the heavy gravity. They emerged into a clearing where steam rose from a pool of clear water, a hot spring heated by the volcanic activity deep underground. The water was clean and warm, surrounded by smooth rocks that formed a natural barrier. Scout tested the water first, drinking deeply, then looked at Liam expectantly. He understood. This was their new home. Liam moved his few possessions from the cave to the hot spring that same day. Scout claimed a flat area near the water where she could watch all approaches. That night, Liam slept better than he had since arriving on Verdun 7, the warm steam keeping the cold away. Scout's steady breathing nearby a comfort he had not realized he desperately needed. Days turned into weeks. Scout's leg healed slowly but steadily. Liam grew stronger, his body adapting to the planet's harsh conditions. The toxic air bothered him less. The heavy gravity no longer made him exhausted after every movement. His senses sharpened. He noticed things now, the way certain insects only appeared before rain. The pattern of tremors that meant volcanic activity was increasing in the west. The particular call of a tree-dwelling predator that meant it had made a kill and would not hunt again for hours. Scout taught him without teaching. He watched how she moved through the jungle, placing her feet carefully on the quietest ground. He learned which plants she avoided and which she brushed against deliberately, coating her scales with oils that repelled smaller parasites. One evening, Scout suddenly went rigid, her ears flattened. That low growl started in her throat. Liam climbed the nearest tree immediately, pulling himself up with strength he had not possessed a month ago. From his perch, he saw them approaching through the jungle. 5 of the 6-legged, armored predators that Liam had seen his first week on the planet. They moved in formation, clearly intelligent hunters, and they had caught Scout's scent. Scout positioned herself between the tree where Liam hid and the approaching pack. She was limping less now, but 5 against 1 were bad odds. These creatures had armor that could turn away claws and teeth. The pack leader charged first. Scout met it head-on, using her superior size and the heavy gravity to her advantage. She slammed into it with enough force to crack its armor plating, but the other 4 circled, looking for openings. Liam watched helplessly as Scout fought. She was magnificent and terrifying, all teeth and speed and raw power, but she was taking hits. One of the pack members got past her defense and raked claws across her side. Dark blood welled up. Without thinking, Liam screamed, a wordless shout of anger and fear. The pack hesitated, confused by the sound. Scout used that moment to grab one by the throat and shake it violently. The creature went limp. But the distraction put her off balance. 2 pack members charged from opposite sides. Liam grabbed a dead branch and threw it as hard as he could. It hit one of the charging creatures in the head, not hard enough to hurt, but enough to distract. Scout spun and caught that one with her claws, opening deep gashes in its less armored underside. The fight became chaos. Liam kept throwing things, breaking branches above the pack to rain debris on them, anything to give Scout an advantage. And slowly, impossibly, they worked together. Scout would drive the pack toward Liam's tree, and he would drop rocks or heavy fruit on them. When they tried to circle away, Scout would force them back. The pack broke after their 3rd member went down. The remaining 2 fled into the jungle, leaving their dead behind. Scout stood panting, bleeding from a dozen wounds, but alive. She looked up at Liam in the tree and made a sound he had never heard before, a chuffing noise that sounded almost like laughter. Liam climbed down and ran to her, checking her injuries. They were bad, but not fatal. He cleaned them with hot spring water and covered them with the plant sap he had seen Scout use on herself. That night, Scout did something new. She curled her massive body around Liam as he slept, creating a warm cave of scales and muscle. Her heart beat steady and strong against his back. They had fought together, they had protected each other. Liam was not just surviving anymore. He had a partner, a friend, maybe even family. The emergency beacon, forgotten in his old cave, finally activated with a soft beep that echoed through the jungle. A message scrolled across its tiny screen in galactic standard text. Council inspection ship arriving in 3 days to verify exile status and retrieve beacon. Scout felt Liam tense against her side. She huffed questioningly. Liam looked at the hot spring, the jungle that had tried to kill him but had become home, and the creature who had become his whole world. 3 days to decide if he wanted to be rescued from the best thing that had ever happened to him. Liam followed Scout through the jungle 2 days after the beacon activated. She moved with purpose, taking paths he had never traveled, her healed leg carrying her weight with only the slightest limp remaining. They reached a section of dense undergrowth where the trees grew so close together that even the volcanic light was completely blocked. Scout pushed through a curtain of thick vines and disappeared. Liam hesitated, then followed. The den was hidden in a hollow beneath massive tree roots, and inside, two small shapes moved in the darkness. Cubs, barely the size of large dogs, but already showing the distinctive 6 eyes and sharp teeth of their species. They chirped when they saw Scout, high-pitched sounds of hunger and need. Scout had been protecting them alone since the rockslide. These were her children, hidden and defended while she hunted and healed and somehow found time to keep one strange human child alive too. The cubs noticed Liam and froze. 6 eyes each, 12 total, all locked on him with predatory focus. They were young but already dangerous. Scout made a deep rumbling sound and pushed Liam gently forward with her nose. The cubs watched their mother, confused. Then the bolder one, darker colored than its sibling, approached carefully and sniffed Liam's leg. The sniff turned into a nibble. Small teeth tested his skin. "Ow," Liam said, not really hurt but wanting to establish boundaries. The cub jumped back, startled by his voice. Scout chuffed that almost laughing sound and nudged the cub back toward Liam. The message was clear: this small creature is pack. Learn its smell, learn its sounds. The second cub, lighter colored with a scar already forming over one eye, remained. Cautious, but eventually hunger and curiosity won over fear. Both cubs approached Liam together, sniffing and chirping and occasionally testing his durability with gentle bites. Over the following days, Liam learned that young ravagers were impossibly playful and accidentally deadly. They wanted to wrestle and chase and pounce, not understanding that their claws could tear and their teeth could puncture. Scout had to constantly discipline them, teaching them that Liam was fragile by their standards. Liam named them Ash and Coal for their coloring. Scout seemed to accept the names, responding when Liam used them to call the cubs. Life became fuller and more complicated. Scout taught her cubs to hunt, and Liam went along, watching them learn to coordinate their attacks. He saw them fail dozens of times before they made their first successful kill together, working as a team to bring down prey twice their size. The cubs taught Liam something unexpected: joy. He had forgotten what it felt like to laugh. But watching Cole try to pounce on his own tail and fall over, or Ash attempting to look intimidating with her baby teeth, brought something light back into his chest. 4 months into his exile, Liam realized he was no longer the terrified child who had stepped off that transport ship. He moved through the jungle like Scout did, reading the environment through sound and smell and subtle changes in temperature. His body had adapted completely to the heavy gravity and toxic air. He was stronger, faster, more aware. When the 6-legged pack hunters tried to attack again, this time targeting the cubs, Liam did not hide in a tree. He fought alongside Scout, using a thick branch as a club, striking at joints and weak points while Scout used her strength to drive them back. The cubs watched from a defensive position Scout had taught them, learning that family protected family no matter the cost. That battle ended with 2 dead pack hunters and the rest fleeing. But more importantly, it ended with something impossible: Liam riding on Scout's back as they chased the survivors to the edge of their territory. He had climbed up during the fight to get a better angle for striking, and Scout had adjusted her movements to keep him stable. They moved as one unit, anticipating each other's actions. After that, riding Scout became normal. She would crouch, he would climb on, and she would carry him through the jungle. At speeds he could never match on foot. From her back, he could see threats she could not, could direct her attention to dangers approaching from angles she could not watch while running. They were more than pack, they were partners. The day before the council ship was scheduled to arrive, something unprecedented happened. Other predators came to the hot spring. Not to attack, to watch. A pair of the massive tree-dwelling hunters that Liam had learned to fear. 3 of the smaller but faster jungle stalkers. Even one of the acid-spitting creatures that usually stayed near the volcanic vents. They did not approach the hot spring. They stayed at the territory boundaries, observing Scout and Liam and the cubs with intelligent focus. Scout did not attack them. Instead, she made a complex series of sounds, and the other predators responded with their own calls. Liam realized something stunning. Scout had been doing more than just hunting and raising cubs during these months. She had been communicating with other apex predators, establishing territory boundaries, creating something that should not exist on a death world. A truce, maybe even the beginning of a community. The creatures that should have been killing each other were learning to share space, centered around the hot spring and the impossible bond between a human child and a ravager. That night, Liam sat by the hot spring with Scout's head resting on his lap, the cubs sleeping in a pile against her side. The jungle was full of sounds, but none of them threatening. The predators that watched from the boundaries were not enemies. They were something new. Tomorrow, the council ship would come. Tomorrow, Liam would have to choose between returning to a civilization that had tried to kill him and staying in a place that had become home. He already knew his answer. He had known it for weeks. Scout huffed softly, that questioning sound. Liam scratched behind her ear ridges where she liked it. "We're not going anywhere," he promised her. "This is where we belong." The council inspection ship descended through the volcanic ash clouds with all the grace of a falling rock. Its engines screamed in protest against the hostile atmosphere. Liam watched from a ridge above the hot spring, Scout beside him, the cubs alert and ready behind them. Through the trees he could see movement. The other predators were watching too, hidden but present. They had learned to recognize the sound of off-world ships. It meant danger. The ship landed on the same rocky ridge where Reth had left Liam 6 months ago. The cargo door opened, and 6 guards emerged first, weapons raised, scanning for threats. Then came 2 scientists with equipment, and finally an administrator whose crystalline body caught the dim light. They expected bones. They expected a dead beacon lying in the dirt. They expected proof that another human had died on the galaxy's most hostile planet. They found Liam sitting on Scout's back. The guards raised their weapons immediately. Scout rose to her full height, making herself as large and threatening as possible. The cubs moved to flank positions, young but already displaying pack tactics. Their collective roar shook leaves from the trees. And then the jungle answered. From every direction, predators emerged from hiding. The tree dwellers dropped from the canopy. The jungle stalkers stepped out from the undergrowth. The acid spitter hissed from the rocks. More shapes appeared, creatures that should have been killing each other instead moving in loose formation. All of them focused on the ship. All of them protecting the hot spring territory, protecting Liam. The crystalline administrator stepped forward, her body language showing shock. "Impossible. The human child survived, and the predators are cooperating. This should not be possible." "My name is Prill," she said, her voice projected through a translator. "I am Council Overseer for Exile Verification. You are Liam of Earth." Yes, his voice was different now, stronger, confident. "You have survived 6 months on Verdun 7. Prill's crystalline structure shifted colors, indicating deep confusion. "The longest previous survival time was 3 weeks. How?" Liam patted Scout's neck. "I made a friend, she made me family, we made this." He gestured at the jungle, at the impossible gathering of predators. A place where different species can live without killing each other. One of the guards spoke up nervously. "Overseer, that creature he rides is a ravager, apex predator. We should eliminate it before it kills the child." Scout snarled, and the sound was echoed by every predator surrounding the ship. The message was clear: threaten Liam and die. "I do not think the ravager intends to harm him," Prill said carefully. "I think something unprecedented has occurred here. This child has done what no species in galactic history has accomplished. He has tamed a death world." "I didn't tame anything," Liam said. "I just stopped fighting long enough to understand it. Scout was hurt and alone, so was I. We helped each other. Then others saw what we built and wanted to be part of it." Prill studied him for a long moment. "The law is clear. Exiles cannot return to civilized space. This is to prevent disease and contamination, but there is no law that says an exile must accept rescue. She manipulated a control pad, and a holographic display appeared showing official council documents. I can declare you deceased, destroyed by the planet as expected. The beacon will be listed as malfunctioning. Verdun 7 will be marked as permanently off-limits due to unpredictable predator behavior. You will legally not exist. What does that mean for me? Liam asked. It means you stay here, you are free, but you are also trapped. No other council ship will come. No rescue, no contact with your species or any other. This planet becomes your entire world. Prill's colors shifted again. It also means that what you are building here will be left alone. No interference, no study, no exploitation. Liam looked at Scout, at the cubs who chirped softly, sensing his tension, at the jungle that had tried to kill him and had instead become home, at the impossible community of predators who had learned to coexist because one human child believed they could. He thought about Earth, green and distant and lost to him forever. He thought about his parents, who were probably dead or thought he was. He thought about growing up in sterile council stations, forever processed through systems that saw humans as dangerous animals to be contained. Then he thought about Scout licking his face the first time, about Cole trying to roar and squeaking instead, about the tree dweller that had brought food to the hot spring last week, testing the boundaries of this new community, about having purpose and family and freedom. Mark me dead, Liam said. This is where I belong. Prill made adjustments to her data pad. It is done. Liam of Earth died 6 months ago on Verdun 7. May you live well in your freedom, child. The council team retreated to their ship quickly, weapons still raised, clearly unnerved by the dozens of predators watching their every move. The ship lifted off, engines straining, rising through the ash clouds until it disappeared. Liam sat on Scout's back and watched them go. He felt Scout's steady breathing beneath him, heard the cubs playing in the hot spring behind them, sensed the other predators returning to their territories, the alliance holding strong. He was 9 years old. He had a family that would die protecting him. He had a home on a planet that should have killed him. He had built something that the galaxy's best scientists would say was impossible. The council thought they had exiled him to certain death. Instead, they had given him a kingdom. Scout turned and headed back toward the hot spring, Liam secure on her back, the cubs running alongside. The jungle closed around them, no longer threatening but welcoming. This was not exile, this was freedom. And tomorrow they would expand their territory to the eastern ridge where strange sounds had been coming from. The impossible community would grow. The Deathworld would become something new. Because one child refused to die alone, and one predator chose kindness over killing. Together they changed everything.